I think Sydney's a fun and enjoyable place to be.
It's got a great nightlife, it's got great beaches, pubs, clubs.
All the restaurants, new things to try and do, the festivals.
Love the multiculturalism. I think, we're just such a diverse, such a vibrant city.
There's all these little pockets, these villages, where everywhere you go there's a different flavour. And I think that's just going to continue to grow and get better as Sydney gets bigger.
It's the place to be. But yeah, we do have to improve it. We've got to do some planning and we've got to do it carefully.
Well, Sydney has to grow, but I think we have to plan for it to make sure it stays a great place to live in.
We all know Sydney's a great place to live and to work, and we want to make sure that it stays that way. Over the next 25 years, there'll be 1.7 million extra people living in Sydney. So we've got to cater for those houses and for the infrastructure to make sure that Sydney stays a vibrant place to live and to work.
The challenges really are quite clear. The Sydney metropolitan region is growing by about 50 to 60,000 people a year. And over the next 25 years, we expect the population of Sydney will reach about 6 million in 2036. That means that we need to plan for 770,000 more homes, 760,000 more jobs. And we need to start planning to meet those challenges now so that we can protect the things that people love about Sydney, things like our natural environment, our different lifestyles, but we need to make sure that the city grows and develops as Australia's global city.
Sydney produces a quarter of Australia's GDP. It also competes with cities across the world for investment in human capital on behalf of Australia, so Sydney has a national responsibility, if you like, to remain competitive with other global cities in our region like Singapore, Tokyo and Hong Kong.
We need a Metropolitan Plan to guide Sydney's growth over the long term, to coordinate state and local government efforts to make the city more livable, more affordable and more sustainable.
The Metro Plan will closely integrate land use and transport planning for the first time, and it pays specific attention to the need to manage climate change. It'll tackle urban sprawl and promote a city with more homes near public transport, and what that will mean is basically less need to drive in your own private car.
All rapidly growing global cities face the challenge of increased congestion when jobs and business activity are heavily focused in one direction into the CBD. That's what we have to address.
The Metropolitan Plan and the Metropolitan Strategy before it that we did in 2005 addressed this issue by transforming Sydney into a city of cities, with Parramatta as the second CBD and Liverpool and Penrith as regional cities, supported by a network of major centres. This multi-centred approach encourages the growth of suburban centres to create new jobs, new business opportunities in accessible locations right across the metropolitan area. And that relieves pressure on our transport routes into the CBD, and it makes sure that we can share the benefits of economic growth across the entire region.
Most of Sydney's population growth will be in Western Sydney, so we're planning for at least half the new jobs to be in this part of the region, to promote a fair distribution of employment and cut the time people spend travelling to and from work.
And we need to increase not only the number of jobs, but also the range of jobs in Sydney's west to match the higher skills and higher education of the people living there. Already new jobs are being created in specialised business parks and research centres outside the CBD, especially in the job-rich corridor known as the Global Arc. When the Epping to Parramatta rail link opens, it'll be easier for thousands more people to access jobs in centres along this arc, and that will strengthen Parramatta as Sydney's second CBD.
Transport is the key. The Metropolitan Plan will build on the strengths of the existing transport system with over $50 billion worth of new projects over the next 10 years. These investments will improve transport right across the city and allow urban renewal to be focused in locations where there's existing transport capacity or where those new projects will significantly lift transport capacity.
Local economies will be strengthened and new well-designed housing and public spaces will be built in more accessible locations. The Metropolitan Plan also identifies new transport corridors that will need to be protected into the future. There are going to be a few key locations where urban renewal is driven by the new Sydney Metropolitan Development Authority. The authority will work with local communities, including the local council, to renew places that are well connected in relation to public transport. This will stimulate the local economy and provide new housing, jobs and employment close to public transport.
At least 70% of the new homes needed by 2036 will be in existing suburbs. Building new homes in the existing urban area ensures we get the most out of this land and means we're building houses in places where people want to live, close to family and friends and good services and amenities.
80% of all the new homes will be planned within walking distance of a centre or a transport corridor. This will reduce the need for car travel and combat congestion. It'll improve air quality and, importantly, reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
We're going to have more people living in and around our local centres. It'll make them busier, it'll make them more energetic, more revitalised. With a growing local population, it means you're going to have better places to shop, more interesting places to visit, and also you'll have work closer to home.
Sydney's often ranked one of the 10 best cities in the world. But what's interesting is that almost every city above us has a higher population density. Sydney has just over 2,000 people per square kilometre. But if we doubled our population tomorrow, we'd still have fewer people in each square kilometre than cities like London, Vancouver or Munich. And they're all functional, interesting places to live with good public transport.
Urban renewal improves sustainability and it also improves affordability. It basically allows us to provide new homes which are designed to meet the trend towards smaller households.
The number of single-person households is going to rise by 69%. So by 2036, the most common household type in Sydney will be single households or couple-only households. And the number of people aged 65 and over will more than double. So more people will want smaller and more accessible homes.
These new homes will be more affordable, more energy efficient than many of the larger, older homes we have now. And they'll be closer to shops and public transport, so people won't have to drive as often.
Living near centres, close to work, close to shops, will encourage more people to walk, more people to cycle, and a healthier lifestyle. And by building more new homes in existing centres, we reduce the need to build on Sydney's edges.
We have to have the vision to protect that biodiversity, recreational space and farmland on Sydney's fringe, where a lot of the city's fresh food is produced. By valuing these lands for production, we'll reduce the need to haul fresh produce over long distances. And that's going to become more important as the impacts of climate change are felt more strongly in coming decades.
And at the end of the day, we need to work very closely with local councils as well as local communities. We all need to own this and we all need to make it work.